Hello, year 8, welcome back. This is the final part of our lesson, and it's going to be shorter than the last. Maybe the same length as the first one. So, again, I would prefer if you had a new page, but if you have started at the top of a new page, then do carry on. Here we go. We're thinking in this part of the lesson about the factors involved. If you remember the Olympic rings at the start, we are going to use those in this lesson to think about what was the role of individuals, of economics, and of war. Okay, and we're going to use that same information from lesson 2 to answer these questions. And then at the end, we'll just have a look at what life was like at the end of the Roman era. So I want you to pause the video and copy these rings into your book. We want the blue, black, and red ring. And if you have thought of extra factors, the yellow and the green ring. So pause the video here and copy the rings into your book in those colours if possible. Pause the video now. Okay, so now you've done that, we're just going to remind ourselves what these rings actually mean. We've got individuals in the blue ring, economics in the black ring, and war in the red ring. And of course, your two extras if you have them. As an example, I have written blue ring for you. I've put the factors, the individual that affected technology and the change of technology was the Emperor Claudius. Without his invasion, there would be potentially no Roman technology spread into Britain. So there are no Roman inventors to speak of in this part of history, although there are loads that we could talk about if we were looking at Italy. So Emperor Claudius is our individual who has affected change in technology. I want you to fill in the black ring and the red ring. The black ring is economics. What economic factors motivated change in technology? And the red ring, what military factors motivated change in technology? Pause the video here, look back through your notes, look back through the slides, and fill in these two rings in your book, please. Pause the video now. If you had two more factors, of course, I would like you to put them in there. We're moving on. Now you have all the information. You have your table with pre-Roman technology, Roman technology for transport, building, settlements, water, and the military. You might have added a couple more. And you've also written how much change there was, so that's the impact. And you've also got the factors that changed technology from the Emperor Claudius to the economy of the Roman Empire pushing technology ahead, and the military of the Roman Empire seriously pushing technology ahead. Okay, we're going to use those to answer the next question. In the Roman era, which factor had the biggest impact on the change in technology and why? I want you to write that question down, please. Underline it. Pause the video now and do that. Okay, now you should have the question underlined in your book. And I want you to write an answer using the sentence starters in the yellow box. You must discuss the three factors: individuals, economics, and the military. Which one of those do you think had the biggest impact on the change in technology in the Roman era in Britain, and why? Use the sentence starters in the yellow box. Pause the video here and write your answer. Okay, I'm looking forward to reading your answers. I think you could go with any one of those three factors, but it's all about the strength of your argument. What evidence have you got to support your idea? Okay, so I will be marking those and I will give you feedback. It might not be individual feedback, it might be class feedback, but I will give you feedback on those answers. So just to round off this lesson, what happened? The Romans were in Britain for nearly 400 years. Okay, but by the 5th century, the Roman Empire was falling apart. There was political crises, economic crises. There were other empires that were invading. People like the Goths and the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths and the Huns, they were all pushing in on the eastern edge of the empire and beginning to take bits of the empire for themselves. And there was no army coordination to defeat them. There wasn't enough money either to support the army. So this meant that the army was pulled away from Britain. The money went with them, basically. And this meant that there was no support for them, for the British, when Britain became endangered. Without the uniting force of the emperor and the empire's resources, Britain was easy to invade, and it eventually split into 7 kingdoms, which had to support themselves. And although the buildings and the roads remained, the ideas and knowledge of technology, as well as the resources to maintain Roman Britain, were forgotten or abandoned. And if you look at these pictures, I've got some examples. The first picture is a wall, but it's actually a Saxon wall from the Saxon period that has been built on top of the Roman wall that was already there. And the thing about this wall is that it's actually defending a whole town. It's not just a military camp, it is built around the whole town. Saxons were desperately scared of being invaded. And so towns were fortified. They didn't have big armies that could rise to the challenge like the Romans had. The middle picture, you can see a church, and behind this church is a Roman lighthouse down in Dover. But the Saxons, once the Romans had left, invaded and had no need for this lighthouse, or at least they couldn't work out how to perhaps incorporate it into their defences. So it has become part of this church complex. Indeed, the church is the more important building from then on. But fortunately, the lighthouse has survived. And then you can see in the bottom picture an old Roman archway that has just become part of a wall with a little gate. It's the entrance to a field. With the arrival of the Saxons, people who are basically from Germany, modern day Germany, the return of roundhouses, watland door, wooden buildings. Okay, there was just not the resources to build the same structures that the Romans had. Okay, Britain was repeatedly raided from all sides, Anglo-Saxons, Irish, Picts, and there were just not enough soldiers. And what soldiers remained probably fought for themselves or gave up and became farmers because that was more peaceful. And gradually things fall apart. The towns and villas are abandoned and money disappears, and all those wonderful technologies that were used to build up Roman Britain pretty much disappear as well. Okay, and they have to revert to very much more basic ideas and resources because that's all they could manage. And finally, no more reading, writing, etc. anymore. Last bit, returning to our info bingo. I want to see how many you got right. Okay, here are the answers. First of all, there were no railways and steam engines. However, the ancient Greeks did use a kind of trackway of rails to pull mined ore, I think it was, from one place to another, I think down in Sicily. There was also a toy which an inventor created which spun around if you heated it up. Inside was water and it emitted steam, which pushed it around. So there you go. They could have had railways if they'd put the two together, but they never thought of it. There were no paper as we know it. That was invented by the Chinese and gradually came over later in time. But the Romans did have papyrus. It's made from a kind of reed in Egypt that's beaten and flattened out. And they also have wax tablets that wooden tablets filled with beeswax that hardened, and you could scratch a message into the wax, and that was how you made your notes. You could also, I believe, in Hadrian's Wall, they found plenty of wooden letters, postcards with ink on, from a commander's wife and from a commander to his wife, and it talks about wanting more stocks, wanting to go, or in replying to invitations to parties, etc., things like that. But no actual paper that we know. There were no flushing toilets. Yes, they had latrines, they had holes underneath which were flowing water that took the waste away, but there were no flushing toilets. That wasn't invented until the Tudor period, and not properly made common until the Victorian period, much later on. This one's a bit contentious, maybe. The Romans didn't wear trousers. They liked wearing tunics. The aristocrats wore togas. In the colder places that they inhabited, the Romans adopted trousers, but it was something that the Celts had invented, and the Celts wore themselves warm. So half and half, maybe. Not strictly Roman trousers. Everything else on there was Roman. Roads, sewers, running water, spas, apartment blocks, street lighting, pen and ink, all Roman, and many more inventions, which we could go on about for ages and ages and ages, but we're not gonna. Not today. So that's it. Before we go, please submit your homework via Show My Homework. Please use Show My Homework. If you have trouble with it, let your teacher know, and we can perhaps solve the problem. But please let us know if it doesn't work. Otherwise, submit via Show My Homework. A Word document or a photo of your work in your book. And if you've got any problems at all, yes, as I said, let us know about it. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that worked well. I'd love to hear your comments. You can email me directly. You've got my email address, or you can email your history teacher, because we need to make this as good as they can be for you. And we're still learning. Okay, so please let us know how this went. And we'll have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.